and another guy's running forward. But I just think in general, man, just the rules of the game and just the freakish athletes that's being produced nowadays, I think it's just tough all around.
I do have one question, Coach. As it relates to film study, how do you incorporate that into your coaching style?
Oh, film study is huge, and I think the biggest part about that, man, is teaching guys how to watch film. You know what I mean? I think everybody tells you, go watch film. Or did you watch film today? Or did you study this? And it took me, when I was in college, I had to get a mentor to actually teach me what that meant. And I think that's a big piece of educating the guys on what they're looking for, what days should they be watching certain things on other teams, and that way creating study habits for them to actually understand it. Because a lot of times if you just sit there in front of a monitor and you sit there for 3 hours and then you get up and somebody asks you, hey, what did you watch? I don't know, I was watching film. You ain't get a whole lot out of it. So we just kind of developed some things that give guys some tip sheets on what they're watching and how to create their own visual study guides as they're watching it too. So just educating them on how to watch it would be the answer you're looking for. No problem. Appreciate it, man. Nice to meet you guys as well. It's okay. Nice to meet you. I'm Brandon.
Hey, Coach, I'm Brandon. I'm Brandon Hoig, UCFsports.com. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you as well.
I know you don't remember this. I called you after your UCF visit back in, what, 08?
That was been 08,
Was it January 08
that was
somewhere in
January
there?
08, absolutely.
It was a big deal.
It was
You're
a
a four-star
huge
recruit.
deal. It was a huge deal.
UCF. It was a massive deal back then. Yeah. What do you remember about that? Because I remember, you don't always remember all the recruits through the years. I definitely remember you came to a basketball game, people like changed your name and stuff. What do you remember?
So I remember everything about that, man. I remember that being my last official visit.
Yeah,
and I'll never forget.
It
was the last weekend of January. I was set to come to UCF, and I'll never forget because David Kelly and those guys did a great job recruiting me and my family. And 2 days before my visit, I remember Oregon coming in and trying to get me to pump UCF for Oregon. I'm like, nope, we're going to UCF. So we get here. I mean, the weekend was phenomenal. I mean, I could have been maybe one of them, maybe one or maybe very few guys that was here that weekend on official visit. But I remember the basketball game, for example, though, like the crowd was into it, chanting my name, and I mean, like it made a tough decision when we went back home. That ride back home to Miami was a lot of tough conversation with my family.
I remember that was kind of sort of pre-social media in a way. I remember it was a big deal. Like I think you guys went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and there were like fans that were like on the message. Oh, I'm here. The recruits are coming in.
Everywhere I went that weekend, it was always somebody there waiting. When we checked into a hotel, it was fans waiting. When we come on campus, it was fans waiting. On a campus tour, just the student body in general, man, they were very, very energetic and very happy to have me here. And it was awesome. It was my best visit too, and I visited some pretty nice schools, but this was my best visit by far.
Well, we've got another Harris coach in UCF. I mean, that's nothing new now. I mean, I know you're busy where you've been, but having your brother coach in here, you know, did you kind of have him come in with the knowledge base? Like, how often did you talk to Tim about what he was going through here at UCF?
I talked to him a lot, and from the time, because even when he came to UCF, man, he was on the same staff at FIU. So I was the DB coach, he was the offensive coordinator at FIU. So when he got the call to come to UCF, I was a little bit down. I was like, dang,
he kind of left you behind.
You kind of left me, and you was going to be there. But so I've tracked it the whole time. I've been to 2 of the bowl games you guys have went to when he was here. I went to the bowl game in Tampa when you guys played Florida, and I went to the bowl game in D.C. when you played Duke. So I've always kind of watched the team and traveled in the off season and stuff like that. So I've always been intrigued with this place. It's always been a place that I would have loved the opportunity to work at.
So you've got the opportunity now. How did that come about? Coach Frost, was that someone you were familiar with? Did he reach out? Kind of how did that connection and kind of what was that initial phone call like?
And to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know how we connected, but I do know Coach Frost gave me a call and he was intrigued and wanted to talk and wanted to meet me. And it wasn't a situation where it was like, hey, I'm calling you, do you want this job? It was like,
he's kind of feeling you out a little bit to see if that's who he had in mind.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we met and we had several conversations, and that took some time period to build that relationship as well. And then when he finally did call and offer me the job, I was like, let's do it. I was very excited about it, and I'm just happy to be here. I'm very excited.
Just kind of expand on that. Let's being excited to be at UCF. You get to stay in your home state, a place like you just talked about. You're very familiar with because of your brother. I mean, this was an opportunity that you couldn't pass up, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's an opportunity that I not only just couldn't pass up, I couldn't wait to get here and embrace the work. You know what I mean? I know that the staff that will put together, how excited everybody is to grind and just to start day one. And I love that process. I love the process of coming in as a new staff. I mean, kind of building something up and getting down in the foxhole together. And just hashing it out and talking ball and then start recruiting and that kind of stuff. Like, I love that. Like, that's the fun part of this job, and being able to develop guys in year one and watching how they grow the next couple of years. So I'm very excited about that whole process.
Yeah. Talk about your room a little bit. You recruited a lot of guys out of the portal. You got Chasen Johnson. That was a big guy to come back after it looked like maybe he was going away. But just, I know you're starting to kind of get to know everyone. You haven't been on really on the field yet. But what do you like about that corner room?
I will say this though, like all of those guys, they're very good kids. They're good people. You know what I mean? They are motivated. They love football. I mean, from the time I got here, from the time I got hired and walked in the building, I mean, they all bombarded the office. It's like, all right, coach, when we start? I was like, all right, we got a little bit of time. They're like, nah, when we start like tomorrow. So all of those guys, even the transfers and the new guys, so we've been doing a really good job at just getting to know each other right now. A really good job at building our relationship. A really good job at watching a lot of their stuff from last year. Even every guy that's, even whether it's a transfer or one of the current players, we sit and we study their film. Because I told them, man, if we're gonna help make you better, we gotta realize we got to know where you come from. We got to know what you've done in the past. We got to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. So we've been doing a really good job at doing that, and they've been helping each other too. Yeah. So that's one thing we try to make sure we stay on top of.
How would you kind of describe your defensive philosophy as a corner coach? I mean, there are certain trademarks that you want your players to exhibit. Like maybe how does that align with Coach Grinch or DC? I mean, that's kind of an open-ended question. But
No, absolutely. I think with Coach Grinch is so awesome because I enjoy the expertise that he has in the defensive back area too. And we sit and we talk about DBs all the time. And I think one thing that we both pinpointed from the very beginning is we want to make sure, man, people say about us, man, those UCF DBs play the ball in the air well. Make sure those guys are comfortable when that ball is in the air. Make sure that we're doing the right things to get in position to make those plays. But a lot of times you watch football, man, that ball is hanging, and sometimes the DBs, they don't necessarily feel like the ball is for them. I mean, so we want to have that approach with our guys, man. The ball is the issue. I mean, go take the ball away, and we're going to be aggressive. Yeah. We're going to be aggressive, we're going to be physical, and we're going to be guys that just do things the right way.
I know you got coaching in your blood, obviously with your dad and everything. When did you realize you were going to be I mean, you're a player in high school, you're going to go to play college. I mean, that was a foregone conclusion. But were you coaching the high school with your dad? Like when you were like, at what point did you realize this was going to be your career?
For a long time, I was in denial.
Yeah.
I was you were saying, I don't want to coach. Okay. I ain't coaching. I want to do my own thing. I want to do this. I want to do that. And my dad did a good job at just sitting back. I was like, all right, kind of do your own thing. And it's crazy because in my off seasons when I was playing in the NFL, I would come back and I would be around this high school team, and I would call myself just coming out to watch practice. And one time I just was out there watching practice, and I found myself getting closer and closer and closer. And the next thing you know, I was running the Indy period. and then my dad kind of came the next day, and he was like, hey, practice at this time tomorrow. Just be there. He was like, all right, I kind of let you make the decision on your own, but I see you done gravitated to it. And then that was my first day coaching, and I never left.
Yeah. So January is big recruiting month. I know a lot of guys from Miami were announcing offers from you. Is that kind of going to be your focus, kind of South Florida, or what's kind of the recruiting areas you're going to be going after? Is it different areas?
I think we're still hashing some of that stuff out just with the new staff, because our staff really was complete towards the tail end of this recruiting process. So I know they're going to do a good job at making sure that, I mean, we pair the right guys in the right places, and plus the way the recruiting calendar changes nowadays too. Some people are going to a different model where it's not so much of an area, but so much more position type stuff. So I don't know, I'm kind of just excited to wherever they put me at. I'm excited to recruit good players and to make sure we got the right relationship. So I just can't wait to do it all.
How much interaction did you have with the guys that were in this room from having been at FAU? There were still, recruiting, kind of, you see a bunch of different guys, all the prospects. Were there guys in the room already that you tried to get to FAU?
Yeah, that was the funny part. You know what I mean? I would say 90% of the guys in the room that I've had some form of communication with throughout the high school recruiting process, and some of them was early in their recruiting. Some of these guys, I was probably one of their first offers, and then they kind of blew up and went big time. But the one thing I will say, what's kind of been cool, those guys all kept a great relationship with me. I mean, through the recruiting process, they was respectful, they communicated. Even though they didn't come to my school, they still was, Coach, we appreciate you recruiting me. I'm going to do this with my recruitment, X, Y, and Z. And then when it turned around full circle and now I'm in their room coaching them, the relationship is already kind of jump-started and it's already on good terms. And it's like, man, because sometimes you kind of just blow people off. You don't talk to them, and then they come back around. It's like, dang, I wish I would have talked to that guy a little bit more. So I did have an opportunity to watch a lot of these guys in high school. So I am excited to be coaching them now. Recruiting when it comes to immediate impact, I mean, and I think that's the one experience I have, being a highly rated defensive back coming out of this state, being one of the most highly recruited guys in the country, and going to a big program and struggling as a freshman, and just understanding from those experiences why I struggled and how I got better from that, and how I was able to make a huge jump from a freshman to a sophomore, and how important that development is. So I think it's guys that, like I said, believe in us, guys that believe that we can develop them, guys that believe that we have the right tools in our toolbox to educate them to get better. So when we go out and recruiting, it's not going to be a matter of looking for the most highly rated guys or looking for the guys that has all the national attention. We're going to look for those little things that we know we can coach, and the guys that really want to play for us, and the guys that have that ability in them to say, we believe in this program, we believe in Coach Grinch, we believe in Coach Harris, and those guys are going to do a great job at recruiting us. So, I mean, we're going to be ground level. We're going to do a good job at building relationships, but also make sure we're turning every stone in every high school. So, I mean, I don't mean to offend anybody, but we're going to recruit the best players that fits our scheme and our program. So, regardless of rankings, regardless of ratings, we're going to make sure we get good players in.
Well, and you mentioned traits. We were talking about Madden. What's the trait you think is most important to have a 90-90 in when you're recruiting guys?
As a DB, I think you're ultimately judged on how you play the ball. I mean, I think all DBs, I mean, if you can't make plays on the ball when the ball's in the air, you're not going to be a very good defensive back. So I think that's probably going to be one of the top-rated things that we look for. How comfortable are guys when the ball's in the air? How comfortable are they making plays? Do guys look back and turn around? Or, you know, I mean, do guys kind of panic when the ball's in the air? That's the stuff that you look for, I mean, early on in the high school recruiting process, because we can always develop them and make them better, but the guys are just so natural at it, and there's other areas that you can help improve and clean up, but that playing the ball is a crucial factor in our evaluation.
How is it recruiting in the state of Florida? Obviously, you've had a little bit of experience recruiting in the state. Have you built those connections to the point where you know kind of who's coming up, who's ready to take that step to come to UCF, and how's it been recruiting in the state compared to some other places?
Oh, absolutely. I think, you know, I mean, selfishly, I'm a product of this state, and this has been the only state I've worked in. So, you know, I mean, I love recruiting in the state of Florida. You know, I grew up here. My dad's a high school football coach for 38 years in this state, so I grew up in a high school locker room. You know, so I like to think that, you know, I mean, growing up here and playing here, I've made connections all throughout the state, from north all the way to the south end. So, I mean, you build relationship with high school coaches, you build relationship with the youth league parks, so you are able to kind of keep up with guys as they come through. I mean, 8 years old, 9-year-old programs, because you're out there watching those kids. And I have a son that's playing in the youth league, so a lot of these kids you follow and you track. And before you know it, man, they're guys that's in high school, that's good players you're recruiting, that you've built legitimate relationships with, just authentically, and not even recruiting, just from being around and being local. A lot of this stuff is like them seeing you all the time. These are the people I see on a day-to-day when we go to the park as a family, or we go to a restaurant, and we go to, you know what I mean, people that I grew up with and went to high school with. So I think the ties start there. I mean, not even from a recruiting standpoint, but just from a day-to-day and life standpoint. Like, no, I know you. So I think that helps us big time.
I know you might be a little biased, but would you say Florida's the best state for defensive backs?
I think Florida's the best state for a lot of positions.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Sean.
No problem.
So, yeah, I'll ask this too. From obviously, there's still a lot of work to do, and that we mentioned playing Madden and such. But
absolutely.
You know, I was talking with Coach Clark about all the offensive line, that important points of chemistry with the O-line. Everybody talks about that. Something that I don't think gets talked about enough is how the DB, in their own way, has to kind of work as a unit.
Oh, yes.
How do you build that chemistry among your guys?
I think the one thing we preach about, and everybody says it, but it's so important in the defensive back room, just because of how much we go through together. Like, we gotta legitimately like and love being around each other. I think that makes us all get the best out of each other. So one thing that I mandate is that, I mean, we have to spend more time out of this building together, because a lot of times, man, we run extreme amount of stress in our training, in our prep, in the building, and sometimes those conversations get heated. So you got to be able to get out of this place, man. Go eat, come over to the house, let's do different events where we're getting away from ball, but we're still bonding and we're still building relationships, because it's all about trust too. They got to be able to trust each other. So that way you're able to push each other. They got to be able to trust that their coach is in it for their best interest. They got to be able to know that we have you guys back, man. Like, no matter what you may go through in life, like, hey, man, call your coach, he got you. So when it is a third down and when it is a crucial situation, those guys will fall back to their training and say, man, I trust what coach telling me, because coach never let me down. When I needed him, he answered the phone. I mean, those kind of things. And playing the position we play, we're highly criticized all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So, you got to be kind of have a bunker mentality with each other to say, we're going to support each other. We're going to build confidence with each other. So even when we're getting bombarded from all different angles, we got each other to turn to, and we can depend on each other.
I was talking to Leroy Butler before his Hall of Fame induction, and it was with him I realized the similarity between the offensive line and the DBs.
Absolutely.
Because you're always the last line of defense as the safety and as the offensive lineman. And I always thought that was interesting how those two things melded. I mean, it doesn't look like you disagree, Coach.
But I agree with you 100%, just due to the fact that our mistakes are always noticed. You know what I mean? And you got to embrace that. You know what I mean? And that's the part that I tell the guys, like, you signed up to play DB. So you signed up to be scrutinized. You signed up to you can go a game and you can have 90 great plays, but you gave up 2 touchdowns on 2 plays and you felt you had the worst game of your life. And that's just the world we live in. And guys have to embrace that, and they have to accept it. They have to bring it on. Say, man, that's the life of a DB. That's the life of no lineman. No lineman can go out there and, man, they can pass pro 60 great times. In 3 plays out of 60, man, they had 3 negative plays and gave up 3 sacks.
Or
not
just pressures, Coach. Yeah.
Exactly. Not a very good day at the office.
Yeah.
So again, I think it's a very, very good comparison. But I mean, it's a different kind of mentality. But at the end of the day, that's why in the National Football League, those are 2 of the highest paid positions. So,
is that what makes in your mind, a good DB? Is someone who can maybe you have those kind of qualities, like understand you're going to be on an island sometime, and you've got to own up to it, and you've got to be able to do what you need to do to get the job done.
I agree. Playing DB is a mentality, and that's one thing we'll preach here day in and day out. Does this guy have the mental capacity to play DB, as far as from a mental toughness standpoint, not just physical, but like we just talked about, man, it's going to be bad things that happen to you in the course of a game. There's going to be times where you're going to be highlighted for a negative play, or you get beat for a touchdown, or you get called for a pass interference, legitimate or not. I mean, those guys got to be strong enough to be able to bounce back and respond to the next play. And one thing I know the coach used to always instill in me, man, every play has a life of its own. And just getting those guys to understand that, like, no matter what happened on that particular play, the next play should have no effect on it. So just being able to have a strong mindset of, hey, man, we're going to move from one play to the next, because each play has its own life. Yeah. Once this one's over, we're to a whole new play, man. That doesn't affect me positively or negatively anymore.
Coach, you have supplanted the transgression of not making an offensive lineman on Madden. All right.
I'm good. No problem.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Can you talk to us more about the trust between Kevin and Mark? Why is that important and how that works?
Yes, sir. I think for the most part, we are all connected as a defensive back unit, and we're also the last line of defense. I mean, it's our job to not only be in position to make our plays, but any mistakes made in front of us, we ultimately have to correct them and be able to get the ball on the ground and play another snap. And we are some of the most vocal guys on the field. The communication is key. Obviously, we're trying to cover some of the best athletes in the world. So us being able to trust each other, for example, a corner being able to trust that the adjustment call a safety is giving them, and not question them and not bicker back and forth and go, well, I think it's this and you think it's that, and then the ball snap and you give up a touchdown because we're in debate. It's like, no, I'm going to listen. I'm going to trust my brother because we train together and we're all trained the same way. Even if I necessarily don't agree in the moment, I'm going to do what he says because we're both on the same page. We got a chance. But a lot of that stuff comes with time and comes with relationships, and it may sound repetitive, but I am so big on just enjoying the guys that you're going to war with, enjoying the guys that you're developing with, because at the end of the day, if I know we're both in it for the same reasons and I know we're both on the same page, you know I'm not going to ever try to put you in a position for you to do nothing wrong or to hurt you. So you're going to be able to trust a little bit more about what we say to each other. And we'll also know how to talk to each other without being offensive to each other as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't know guys, so I may say something to you and I may not think much of it. But if I got to know you and I got to know your family, I know certain things that trigger you a little bit better. So it also helps us with the way we communicate with each other too.
do you? I'm sure when you talk to a kid or talk to a young man, and do you pick up right away this guy's got some it factor? I mean, because that's kind of the tendency of a defensive back. A good defensive back can be a little bit of that kind of swagger a little bit. You see a little bit.
It's funny because we was talking about this earlier. Me and Coach Grinch, we was laughing and talking about it earlier. Like some guys, they just got it.
Yeah.
They just got it. Some guys, they just got that alpha mentality, and it don't matter where they are. You can drop them off in the middle of anywhere, and they're gonna be a guy, man. They're gonna be an alpha.
Yeah.
And when you walk into a school and you find guys like that, you love it. You embrace it, and then you make sure the other areas of what you're looking for checks out as well. But we definitely think that's a huge attribute to a DB. You know what I mean? You got to have some just bring it kind of mentality.
Yeah. You've only been, when you haven't had a chance to be with these guys on the field actually, but you've had a chance to maybe be with them a little bit here or there. Have you picked up on some guys maybe? You don't have to get names, but have you picked up some guys on this group that you're thinking, okay, these guys have got that it factor that we can
It's quite a few guys in the group is like that has that it factor. But the thing I've been most impressed with is the group as a whole and how hungry they are for knowledge and how they want to know. They want to know the scheme. They want to learn the techniques that we're coaching. They want to master it. I was kind of expecting to walk in and kind of have to push them towards it a little bit, but these guys have been awesome. From the time we stepped foot on campus, they've been, all right, coach, let's go, we ready. It's like they can't get enough ball, and you love it. You love that part of it. So I'm real excited to get out there and actually get on the grass with them because they've been great in the meetings and stuff that we've been having.